It had been raining for hours when Ethan stepped into his Aunt Clara's house, the familiar scent of old wood and tea lingering in the air. The rain seemed to slow time, making the world outside shrink into the sound of dripping water. Ethan's heart thumped in a way that was both frightening and exhilarating. He had not felt like this before, not for anyone, and certainly not for a member of his own family. Aunt Clara, his mother Margaret's elder sister, had always been a gentle presence in his life. She had comforted him as a child, guided him through small disasters, and laughed with him in a way that made him feel safe. But now, the feeling that rose in his chest whenever she looked at him lingered far longer than it should. Her eyes, warm yet heavy with unspoken emotion, seemed to pull him closer. It began subtly. Lingering touches as she handed him a cup of tea. A brush of hair away from his forehead. Her hand resting near his when they sat close together on the sofa. Ethan's chest would tighten each time. He knew he should feel only gratitude or familial love, yet his body and mind betrayed him. Clara, he realized, felt it too. There was an intensity in her gaze, a hesitation in her smile, a tremor in her hands that spoke louder than words. Both of them knew it. This was forbidden. The very thought of it made them freeze in guilt, yet the pull was impossible to resist. One night, the house empty, they found themselves alone in the living room. Ethan's heart raced uncontrollably as he finally mustered the courage to speak. "Aunt, I don't know why I feel this way," he admitted, voice barely a whisper. She looked at him, her own hands shaking slightly. "Ethan, do you feel it too? The strange connection between us?" He swallowed hard. "Yes, but it's wrong. We shouldn't." Her hand reached for his, stopping him mid-sentence. "I know it's wrong. But it's real. And pretending it doesn't exist, it's killing me slowly." For a long moment, they sat in silence. The rain pattered against the windows, each drop like a heartbeat in sync with their own. They understood one another without further words. This was not casual affection, it was desire, dangerous and forbidden, and it had taken root deep in both of them. The following days were filled with subtle glances and fleeting touches, each encounter a test of self-control. Ethan caught himself staring at Clara during breakfast, memorizing the curve of her lips, the way her fingers lingered on the table. Clara's eyes would meet his for just a fraction too long before she looked away, a blush rising to her cheeks. Every moment between them was charged, fraught with tension, and yet impossible to resist. At night, Ethan would lie awake, heart pounding, replaying each interaction. The forbidden thought of touching her hand lingered, intoxicating and terrifying. And he knew, Clara felt the same. They were both trapped, caught between familial duty and an irresistible, dangerous desire. That night, the spark ignited. Ethan found himself standing closer to her than ever before, her perfume enveloping him, warmth radiating from her body. Neither of them spoke. A subtle brush of hands, a fleeting touch, and for a brief moment, they allowed themselves to acknowledge the feelings they had tried to suppress. It was a spark that promised fire, a dangerous, consuming fire that could not easily be extinguished. They parted that evening with hearts racing, minds swirling with confusion and guilt, and a shared understanding, nothing would ever be the same. Days turned into weeks, and the tension between Ethan and Clara grew with every fleeting glance, every accidental touch. At home, they maintained the guise of normalcy, meals with Margaret, casual small talk, but beneath the surface, a storm was building, uncontainable. Every time their hands brushed or their eyes met across the room, their hearts betrayed them, hammering with desire and guilt. It began innocently enough, reading together in the library, helping each other with household chores. But soon, those moments became more intimate. A hand lingering just a little too long on the counter, a laugh shared that lasted longer than it should, a brush of arms that sent shivers down both of their spines. One rainy afternoon, with Margaret away on a business trip, Clara invited Ethan to the small cafe around the corner, a quaint place with wooden tables, exposed brick walls, and the soft hum of jazz playing in the background. It had become their secret refuge, a place where the world outside ceased to exist. "Ethan," Clara whispered as they sat opposite each other, the rain streaking the windows. "I can't stop thinking about you. Every day it's like a fire I can't put out." Ethan swallowed hard, hands shaking slightly as he reached for his coffee. "I know. I feel it too. But every time we're together, I feel like the walls are closing in. We're playing with something dangerous." Clara leaned forward, her eyes pleading, searching for understanding. "I don't care about danger. I care about you. I can't pretend these feelings don't exist anymore." Their hands brushed lightly across the table. That brief contact ignited a spark, sending heat through their bodies. They both knew that crossing the line would be a transgression beyond repair, yet they could not resist. After the cafe, they walked through the rain-soaked streets, jackets soaked through, laughter mingling with the rhythm of the storm. They walked barefoot in puddles along the alley, remembering carefree childhood days. Ethan photographed the city around them, but secretly, every frame captured Clara, her hair damp and curling, her laugh brighter than any neon sign, the way her eyes glimmered with unspoken emotion. At night, in the privacy of the library, they allowed themselves fleeting moments of intimacy. A hand on a shoulder, a hug that lingered longer than necessary, a kiss stolen in the shadows. Every encounter was filled with adrenaline, fear, and desire, a cocktail that left them both trembling. But the secrecy made it all more dangerous. They were always aware of the risk, the moment when Margaret or a neighbor might walk in and shatter their fragile bubble. One evening, as Ethan and Clara shared a quiet embrace in the study, a sudden knock on the door sent them both scrambling. Their hearts raced, breaths caught in their throats, and they realized how precarious their situation truly was. Despite the fear, the attraction grew. Ethan would stay up at night, replaying every word, every glance, every touch. Clara felt the same, lying awake with memories of his warmth pressed against hers, the subtle brush of lips, the shared laughs that nobody else could understand. And yet, guilt gnawed at them. Every time they parted, Ethan's mind was flooded with questions. Is this selfish? Are we destroying everything around us? Clara wrestled with the same doubts. Am I betraying family? Am I leading him into ruin? One evening, when the storm outside matched the turmoil in their hearts, Clara confessed softly. "Ethan, I don't want this to end, but I'm terrified. Every time we're together, I feel alive, but I also feel like I'm falling into a trap we can never escape." Ethan cupped her face in his hands, brushing damp strands of hair from her forehead. "Clara, I don't want to let go. I know it's wrong. I know it's dangerous. But I can't. I just can't." That night, the boundaries dissolved. They kissed in the dim light, trembling and desperate, savoring the forbidden intensity. Every second was electric, every touch forbidden yet utterly consuming. They knew the world outside would judge, condemn, and punish them, but in that room, in that rain-soaked night, nothing else existed except the two of them. The next day, reality returned, and the consequences of their actions loomed. Margaret's sudden return could happen at any moment. Neighbors could notice their strange habits. Friends could gossip. Yet, for Ethan and Clara, the secret meetings had become the lifeline that neither could abandon. Every glance, every stolen touch, every whisper in the rain was a reminder of their forbidden bond. It was a love that was dangerous, intoxicating, and entirely impossible to resist. They were bound together by desire, yet aware of the peril, the thin line between passion and disaster. The secret meetings continued, growing in intensity and frequency, each encounter both a risk and a thrill. Every moment they spent together was a gamble, yet they could not stop. The fire between them had ignited, consuming reason, leaving only raw, undeniable emotion. Weeks passed, and the thrill of secret meetings was now entwined with a gnawing sense of fear. Every time Ethan and Clara met, they were acutely aware of the risk surrounding them. A misplaced step, a knock on the door, or even a neighbor's casual glance could unravel everything. One rainy evening, Ethan arrived at Clara's apartment, the streets slick with water and glowing under streetlights. Clara greeted him at the door, her hair damp from the storm, eyes bright with longing and anxiety. "Ethan, I can't stop thinking about what we're doing," she admitted, voice trembling. "I know," Ethan whispered. "Every time I see you, I feel alive. But I also feel trapped. Like we're standing on the edge of a cliff, knowing one wrong move will destroy us." They spent the evening together, reading in silence, stealing occasional touches. The intensity between them was suffocating. Each brush of a hand, each fleeting gaze made them both tremble. The storm outside mirrored the turmoil inside their hearts. Then came the night that changed everything. Ethan's mother, Margaret, unexpectedly returned home early. Clara and Ethan froze, hearts pounding as footsteps echoed down the hallway. They ducked behind the couch, barely daring to breathe. Margaret entered, humming softly, oblivious to the secret lurking in the living room. Ethan's mind raced. She can't know, she mustn't know. Clara's hand gripped his, their fingers entwined, a silent promise of solidarity. That night, they learned that even a small mistake could lead to exposure, and the thought filled them with both fear and excitement. Despite the danger, their desire continued to grow. They met in hidden corners of the city, abandoned bookstores, quiet parks under the rain, rooftops overlooking neon-lit streets. Every meeting was electric, every kiss stolen, every touch forbidden but necessary. They were addicted to the tension. The danger made their connection even more intense. Yet guilt clawed at them relentlessly. Ethan would lie awake at night, thinking of Margaret, thinking of the moral and social consequences. "We're destroying ourselves, and everything around us," he whispered to himself. Clara wrestled with similar thoughts. Every stolen moment was both ecstasy and torment, and the weight of their choices pressed down like an invisible hand. One afternoon, Clara found herself unable to resist Ethan's gaze as they sat in a quiet cafe. "Ethan, I know this is wrong. I know what we're doing could ruin everything. But I can't stop. I don't want to stop." Ethan reached across the table, his fingers brushing hers. "I can't let go either," he admitted. "I know it's dangerous, but I've never felt this way about anyone." That night, they met in Clara's apartment. The room was dimly lit, rain tapping against the windows. They held each other, trembling with desire and fear. Every touch, every whisper, every heartbeat was heightened by the risk of discovery. For a moment, nothing else existed, only them, bound by desire, guilt, and an undeniable connection. But reality always loomed. Ethan and Clara knew that the next mistake could expose them. They were playing with fire, and the flames were growing. The excitement of secrecy was intoxicating, but the consequences were terrifying. In those days, every meeting carried a new intensity. They spoke less, touched more, and let their emotions lead the way. They were addicted to each other, caught in a cycle of danger and desire that neither could escape. And yet, beneath the passion, a quiet dread persisted. One day, their secret would be discovered, and nothing would ever be the same. By the end of the week, Ethan realized that hiding their relationship was no longer sustainable. Every glance from a passerby, every unexpected visitor, and every family member's casual question became a threat. The danger that had once made their love exciting now cast a shadow over every moment, making the line between pleasure and fear razor thin. And in that tension, they found themselves more connected than ever. The knowledge that they might be discovered only heightened their obsession. Every stolen moment became a memory burned into their minds, every whisper a testament to the forbidden bond they shared. As the rain continued to fall over the city, Ethan and Clara stood together by her window, fingers entwined, eyes locked. "No matter what happens," Clara whispered, "I don't want to let go." "Neither do I," Ethan replied, heart pounding. "Even if the world collapses around us, I'll hold on to you." The storm outside raged on, mirroring the tempest of desire, fear, and guilt inside them. They were trapped in a love that was forbidden, dangerous, and all-consuming, and yet neither could imagine life without the other. The tension that had been simmering for weeks finally erupted one fateful evening. Margaret returned home earlier than expected, carrying groceries, her presence filling the house with a sense of normalcy that Ethan and Clara could no longer maintain. Ethan was helping Clara with some papers in the living room, their hands brushing as they passed each other a stack of documents. A sudden creak on the stairs made them freeze, and the next moment, Margaret appeared, her sharp eyes scanning the room. "What's going on here?" she demanded, voice steady but tinged with suspicion. Ethan's heart pounded in his chest. He wanted to explain, to defend the impossible, but words failed him. Clara, standing slightly behind him, gripped his hand, a silent plea not to speak. Margaret's gaze softened momentarily, then hardened as she took in the tension between them. "Ethan. Clara. I don't know what's happening, but I can feel it. You need to tell me the truth." The silence was unbearable. Clara swallowed hard, stepping forward. "Mother. It's complicated. We didn't plan for this to happen, but the feelings between us, they're real." Ethan's throat tightened. "We know it's wrong. We never wanted to hurt anyone. But we can't deny what's between us." Margaret's face paled, a mixture of shock, disbelief, and sorrow washing over her. She sank into the armchair, running her hands through her hair. This is more than I could have imagined. Do you understand what this means? The scandal, the damage to this family?" Clara's eyes filled with tears. "I know. We're sorry. We didn't want it to come to this. But the feelings are uncontrollable, and the longer we try to ignore them, the more dangerous it becomes." Ethan knelt beside her, holding her hand tightly. "We're not asking for forgiveness. We needed to be honest before it consumed us entirely." Margaret's silence was heavy, her gaze distant as she tried to process what she had just learned. The gravity of the situation was undeniable. The love between Ethan and Clara was forbidden, explosive, and capable of tearing their family apart. In the days that followed, the atmosphere in the house changed. Meals were eaten in silence, glances avoided, conversations reduced to necessities. Ethan and Clara met in secret only when Margaret was away, the risk of exposure growing with each stolen moment. But the intensity of their connection only increased. They met in hidden corners of the city, abandoned bookstores, quiet parks drenched in rain, and rooftops overlooking neon-lit streets. Every encounter was electric, every stolen touch a dangerous thrill. One rainy night, after narrowly avoiding being seen by a neighbor, Clara whispered, "Ethan, I don't know how much longer we can keep doing this. The walls are closing in." Ethan held her close, feeling her tremble in his arms. "I don't want to stop. I know it's wrong, I know it's dangerous, but I can't let go of you." They kissed in the dim light, a desperate, trembling union of desire and fear. The world outside ceased to exist. Only the storm inside their hearts remained, wild and consuming. Yet reality always returned. Margaret's scrutiny, societal judgment, and the ever-present threat of exposure cast a shadow over every moment of intimacy. Ethan and Clara were trapped in a delicate balance of passion and fear, unable to fully embrace their love but unwilling to release it. The tension reached a breaking point one evening when a close family friend noticed the subtle signs, lingering touches, secretive glances, and whispered conversations. Rumors began to circulate, and soon, the secret that Ethan and Clara had tried so hard to protect was teetering on the brink of public knowledge. Forced to confront the consequences of their actions, Ethan and Clara realized that continuing their relationship openly was impossible. Every stolen moment was a risk, every encounter a potential disaster. The thrill of secrecy had become a cage, confining their desires and their hearts alike. Yet even in the face of exposure, they could not deny the bond between them. They clung to each other in quiet moments, knowing that the world would never understand their love, but refusing to let it go entirely. One night, as the rain poured outside, Ethan whispered into Clara's ear, "No matter what happens, I will always feel this, for you. Even if the world turns against us, even if we must part, this will never change." Clara rested her head on his shoulder, tears mixing with the rain tapping on the window. "Neither will I." We may have to fight the world to survive, but our hearts, they belong to each other. And so, the storm raged on, outside and within, trapping them in a whirlwind of passion, guilt, and undeniable love. Their forbidden bond had been revealed, the consequences looming large, yet their connection remained unbroken, a dangerous flame that neither could extinguish. Weeks turned into months, and the pressure of their forbidden love became unbearable. The world outside, family, friends, society, loomed over Ethan and Clara like a storm ready to break. They knew that continuing their relationship openly was impossible. Every stolen moment, every secret meeting carried the risk of exposure and irreparable damage. One rainy evening, Ethan found himself standing outside Clara's apartment, rain soaking his coat and hair, heart pounding with a mixture of desire and sorrow. Clara opened the door, her eyes red from crying, her lips trembling as she tried to smile. "Ethan," she whispered, voice barely audible over the rain. I don't think we can continue like this. It's too dangerous, too consuming." Ethan shook his head, stepping inside and taking her hands in his. I know, Clara. But I can't stop loving you. Even if the world tells us we're wrong, even if we have to part, my heart will always be yours." Tears streamed down Clara's face. "And mine yours. But we must think of the family, of Margaret, of the life outside this apartment. We can't let our love destroy everything." They embraced, holding each other tightly as the storm raged outside. The rain mirrored their hearts, torrential, relentless, full of emotion they could not express fully. Every touch, every kiss was a last farewell, a desperate attempt to hold on to something they knew they might have to release. Days passed in a blur of finality. Ethan and Clara met in secret one last time. They walked through the rain-soaked streets, reminiscing about stolen moments, cafes where they had shared whispers, rooftops where they had watched the city lights, quiet libraries where fingers had brushed and hearts had raced. Each memory was a flame, a burning reminder of what they had shared and what they must leave behind. In Clara's apartment, they held each other in silence. Words failed them, as they always did in the presence of such overwhelming emotion. Ethan cupped her face, pressing his forehead to hers. "No matter where I go, Clara, no matter who I am, us, it will never leave me," he said, voice breaking. Clara nodded, tears falling freely. "And I will carry you in my heart, Ethan. Always. Our love may be forbidden, but it is real, and it is ours." Finally, the moment came to part. Ethan stepped out into the rain, shoulders hunched, heart aching. He turned once to see Clara at the window, standing alone, watching him disappear into the city night. Her silhouette framed by the dim light, rain cascading down the glass, was a memory he would never forget. Months passed. Life resumed its rhythm, but the echoes of their love lingered in every corner of their minds. Ethan saw Clara in fleeting images, in the laughter of strangers, in the scent of rain, in quiet cafes that reminded him of their secret meetings. Clara felt Ethan in the warmth of the sun, the brush of the wind, the rhythm of her heartbeat. Though separated, they carried each other in memory and spirit. Their love had been forbidden, dangerous, and impossible, but it had also been real, consuming, and unforgettable. Sometimes, late at night, Ethan would walk past the streets they had shared, imagining her hand in his, the brush of her lips, the whispered confessions. Clara would do the same, tracing invisible patterns in the air, replaying moments they had stolen from the world. Their story had no happy ending in the conventional sense. They could not be together, could not live openly in the love they craved. But in their hearts, in their memories, in the rain and in every quiet moment, their forbidden love remained alive, a secret flame that would never be extinguished. And so, they learned to live with it, carrying the intensity, the passion, and the longing that had defined their hearts. Love had been forbidden, but it had also been unforgettable. The rain fell softly on the city streets, washing away the traces of their secret, but never the memories. Ethan and Clara moved forward in life, forever marked by a love that had burned too brightly to fade, a love that had taught them the price of desire, the weight of choice, and the inevitability of longing.